bad. Had to fix my camera. My camera shut off on me. Let's get back to it.
Here's the part nobody talks about. His house got broken into. Random? Maybe. But it sure felt like a message.
I've had home invasion robbers at my house. I've had 7 dudes in Cleveland come to the hotel room with their guns out and masks on.
You're kidding me?
No, so I'm like, you know.
So let's ask the real question. How many incidents does it take before we realize what's happening to Katt might not be happening by accident? Before the fame, before the money, and before the scandals, Katt Williams was just a kid trying to survive. Born Micah Sierra Williams in 1971 in Cincinnati, Ohio, Katt's early life was anything but stable. He ran away from home at just 13 years old, and not because he was chasing a dream, but because his home life was falling apart.
I was afraid, but I couldn't be that afraid because I knew what had happened with Jesus. I knew how it worked out. I knew that I wasn't in the wrong with how I was feeling.
With nowhere to go, the young Katt...
I'm going to tell you a story about humanity. I have been channeling an extraterrestrial entity that we call Bashar.
Made his way to Florida, where he found himself homeless, sleeping in a park encampment.
It's crazy work, man. Shout out to Katt Williams, man. One of my favorite economies, comments, you know what I'm saying? The goats, you know what I'm saying? On the real. You doing your thing, my boy.
While other kids his age were attending middle school classes and playing sports, Katt was figuring out how to survive each day on the streets. But even in these darkest moments, his extraordinary mind was at work. During this period of homelessness, Katt spent his days at the public library, later claiming he would read 12 books a day to educate himself. He was determined not to let his circumstances define his intellect.
So when you're like 6, 7 years old, you read the whole encyclopedia, said you think you're one of the smartest people in the world.
The early abandonment and struggle for survival shaped Katt's worldview in profound ways. The boy who had to grow up overnight developed both a thick skin and a keen understanding of human nature, traits that would later fuel his comedy and his confrontational approach to life. After years of grinding in small comedy clubs across the country, Katt's distinctive voice and fearless approach to comedy began to gain attention. But this wasn't a fairy tale Hollywood story. Even as he climbed the ladder of success, Katt was a young father trying to make ends meet while perfecting his craft. His breakthrough role came in 2002 with Friday After Next, where his portrayal of Money Mike showcased his comedic genius to a wider audience. By 2006, he had filmed his first HBO special, The Pimp Chronicles Pete at One, cementing his status as a comedy powerhouse. But success didn't erase the scars of his past. Instead, it seemed to create new pressures and conflicts. Just as his career was reaching new heights in late 2006, Katt experienced his first major brush with the law when a stolen handgun was found in his briefcase at Los Angeles International Airport, resulting in 3 years probation. This arrest, the first of many, shocked fans, but was merely a prelude to the tumultuous years ahead. The man who had survived childhood abandonment was now facing new battles in the glaring spotlight of fame. By the end of 2008, it was clear that something was going very wrong in Katt Williams' life. To the outside world, he still seemed like the same fast-talking, sharp-witted comedian who could make a crowd erupt with laughter. But underneath that polished, confident exterior, the pressure was starting to break him down. Katt had always been known for his energy and eccentric personality. But what started happening that November crossed the line from quirky to concerning. It all started when he didn't show up for a scheduled appearance on E.T. Late Night with Conan O'Brien. For someone like Katt, who valued professionalism and had built a reputation for always delivering, this was strange. There was no explanation, no cancellation notice. He just didn't show up. A few days later, things escalated. He was pulled over in New York City, and police found 3 guns in his car. Now, Katt was a known gun enthusiast and had often spoken about carrying protection, but getting caught like that, especially in a city with strict gun laws, was serious. He was arrested on the spot. But what shocked people even more was what happened next. Katt posted bail, walked out of jail, and still made it to his comedy show at Carnegie Hall that very night. On the surface, it seemed like a classic Katt Williams move, unapologetically bold, wild, and still committed to his fans. But underneath the humor, people started asking, was he okay? Just a few days later, the answer became painfully clear. On November 14th, 2008, in Sumter, South Carolina, something deeply troubling happened. Katt showed up at a motel wearing only a bathrobe. He looked lost and confused, acting strangely and talking incoherently. The motel staff, alarmed by his behavior, called the authorities. When police arrived, they didn't arrest him. They took him to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation.
I knew they could take a nigga to jail. I thought that was it. These motherfuckers put me in a real mental institution with real crazy people.
This wasn't just a misunderstanding or a media spin. This was a real mental health emergency. Katt's own family got involved. They were was a man who the authorities when energetically bold, wild, and still committed to his fans. But underneath the humor, people started asking, was he okay? Just a few days later, the